Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call this Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for June 2nd, 2022 to order. May we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Holland.
Here.
Commissioner Keating.
Here.
Vice Chair Sartor.
Here.
Chair Bash.
Here.
Commissioner Rosenbaum.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Chapman.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Will you all rise, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Director Boyd, we have current events and reports.
Chair Bash, members of the commission, good evening. In light of a full agenda, just a couple brief items. As it stands of today, we do not have an agenda for the first meeting in July. With that in mind, we typically have a year in review report for the commission. We anticipate bringing that to you in August. Also, we'll be bringing at that time, we discussed a mechanism to allow you to see what site plans have been approved. So we'll bring a draft of that at the same time in August for you to review, because we don't anticipate having that opportunity in July.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, it's the call to the public for any item that is not on the agenda. Ashley, have anybody wish to speak?
Chair Bash, yes. I have one individual, Quintus Schultz.
Please state your name, full name and address, please.
Okay. I'm Quintus Schultzke. I'm at 18263 West Banff Lane, Surprise 85388, and part of the Sierra Montana neighborhood over there. I just wanted to take a moment because I know 2 weeks from now there's the building group Dominium intends to bring forward their proposal or their revised proposal to you. So I left a copy or had a copy given so that you can see in my letter to Mayor Hall yesterday. They held a community meeting or a meeting that's supposed to be a citizen participation type of meeting on Tuesday. It was held as a webinar, and it was a little hard to tell who was on except for the presenters at times, and then the Q&A at the end. But in the end, I mean, they've changed some things, so they did get the parking right. I pushed them hard on that. They fixed that, but we still have a huge number of infrastructure problems that are going to remain. Going eastbound on Waddell, I mean, it's going to bottleneck still at the Truman Ranch property, and then it will widen however wide they care to make it, but it'll be all hash marks in just a single lane, and maybe a left turn lane coming the other way. So 1,200 more people on the corner. Toll Brothers finishing some of their developments just south of that. There's other things happening in that area that are just going to put a lot of stress on those things. And I personally spoke to people when we were on the corner last year talking about it with them that said they even at the state of things now, they worry about having a heart attack, at 3 p.m. when kids are getting out of school, because there's a lot of worry about vehicles getting in and out at certain parts of that neighborhood. So just making you aware, giving you some preview of what's to come in a couple of weeks, and hopefully you'll see things as they really are at that time. Appreciate your help.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else, Ashley?
No, Chair.
Hearing no others, we will close the call to the public for non-agendized items. We'll move on to consent agenda item number 1.
Consideration and action to approve or disapprove the May 19th, 2022 Planning and Zoning Commission minutes.
I move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We'll have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Holland.
Abstain.
Commissioner Keating.
4.
Vice Chair Sartor.
4.
Chair Bash.
4.
Commissioner Rosenbaum.
4.
Commissioner Smith.
4.
Commissioner Chapman.
4.
Motion passes with 6 votes in favor.
Thank you. We'll move on to agenda item number 2, requiring a public hearing.
Consideration and action regarding a zoning text amendment, ZTA, to the Surprise Land Development Ordinances, LDO, to amend the parking requirements for warehouse/distribution land uses, case FS 22-0555.
Thank you. Leslie?
Good evening, Chair, Commission.
You want to move the mic down,
Oh, I
please?
forgot about that. Good evening, Chair, Commission. Item number FS 220555 is the Land Development Ordinance Zoning Text Amendment. Our current requirement for warehouse distribution center land use is 1 space per 600 of gross floor area. And we've received a lot of feedback from applicants that this is a lot more restrictive than some of our surrounding cities. So we decided to look into it and found that it is more restrictive than the surrounding cities. So this is to amend the requirements and make them more consistent with conventional parking standards. So we're at the 1 space per 600, and you can see I have Avondale, Goodyear, and Chandler up there because we like their model. They took a look at the building size and also took into consideration the office space when they were calculating parking, and it seemed to be a very accurate method. So that's what we used for a model. And this is what we are proposing: 1 space per 1,000 square foot of gross floor area for the first 10,000, 1 space per 5,000 square feet ground floor area for the remaining, and then 1 space per 250 square feet for the office space. And then for shell buildings, because they don't have office space calculated yet, we would do that at 15%. Here's an example project. We currently have this one in final submittal, and you'll see in the first space there, the current requirements are shown, and then the proposed. You can see there's quite a difference. And this is what the actual change would look like in the legislative edit. It would be on the table, I can't remember the table number, 107-4C. We had a neighborhood outreach meeting on May 11th, and we had 2 people in attendance, and they were in support of this amendment. And staff recommends that the commission recommend approval to City Council for this amendment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This does require a public hearing. Ashley, is anybody wanting to address this issue?
No, Chair Bash.
Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and open up to commission comments. Commissioner Chapman.
Yes, I just have a comment. The actual spaces that we have in the city, have we done a study or anything to see a lot of empty spaces in our current industrial area and warehouse area?
Not recently.
Yeah, because it seems we may go along with other cities, but I'm just curious if in fact we have too many spaces or not enough. And I don't know if there's any empirical data, recommending what we do. But another question I have is in the space, that area for an office, at 1 space for a 250 square foot office. I'm not sure how many people in a work environment, even if it's 250, there's probably more than 1 person working there. And I don't know, I was just asking to see if we can get clarification on it.
Well, we base that on our current LDO requirements for office space. So we just applied that to the office space.
Okay. I have no other questions.
Commissioner Holland?
My comment was similar to Commissioner Chapman's, that if I'd hate to drive people off-site to off-site parking. So if we need them, I'd like to keep them. But at the same time, if they're not needed, and it can more than accommodate those who are actually in the facility, then I don't oppose it. Mr. Abrams.
Chair, Commissioners,
Dr. Abrams.
knowing what we have currently for warehouse space, I haven't seen an instance where we're have too many, or don't have enough spaces to accommodate all the parking. And to be competitive with the other cities in the market, we looked at this and evaluated, okay, where do we sit and how do we be competitive so that we can attract those businesses into the city and still, maintain our parking calcs. And I think that's why when they come in without any office space or as a shell facility, we look at, okay, let's do a certain percentage to make sure we do have the adequate parking to park that facility. So as far as the study, we didn't go out and actually go facility by facility, but based on my experience, I don't know of an instance where we don't have adequate parking for these types of uses.
Thank you.
Has any consideration been given to shift overlays? Do these numbers include 3-shift operations where you have an overlay of employee parking?
Honestly, I can't answer that, Chair. But I do know like Amazon has multiple shifts and we haven't seen any issues at that location today.
Okay, and they're under the previous LDO.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Commission, any other comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to recommend approval of the proposed zoning text amendment to the Surprise Land Development Ordinance to amend parking requirements for warehouse distribution land use to City Council.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We'll have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Holland,
4.
Commissioner Keating,
4.
Vice Chair Sartor,
4.
Chair Bash,
4.
Commissioner Rosenbaum,
4.
Commissioner Smith,
4.
Commissioner Chapman.
4.
Motion passes with 7 votes in favor.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 3, requiring a public hearing.
Consideration and action pertaining to a zone change of approximately 199.21 acres from rural residential RR to residential medium density R2 and residential high density R3, located west of 155th Avenue and north of Joe Max Road, case FS 21-828.
Trevor?
Thank you, Chair, members of the Commission. This item before you is a rezone request for a development known as Nobella. The site contains multiple parcels and encompasses nearly 200 acres of property just north of Joe Max Road and west of 155th Avenue. The site is located within the neighborhood character area of the general plan, which encourages a variety of housing and allows for a variety of densities, so long as certain buffers and transitions are made between higher and lower densities. The site is also located within a growth area, so within a growth area within our general plan. It is areas that we have identified and the public has identified as areas where growth is highly likely and encouraged. This specific growth area is the 163rd Avenue corridor growth area, and within our general plan, it states that this will be an area where there will be a full range of housing opportunities as well as appropriately located commercial. So the site, all of the parcels within the site are currently zoned rural residential. The adjacent zoning to the north is additional rural residential. There's the Rio Caballo development to the west that is zoned RL5 PUD. And then there is County RU 43 to the west, or sorry, to the east and to the south. The applicant is requesting a rezone from rural residential to a combination of R2 and R3 to accommodate a housing development that will include single-family residential and some multifamily pieces. So the next few slides are some conceptual plans that they provided as part of their rezone application. This here is the conceptual land use plan. As you can see, there's various types of R2 parcels that are anticipated to be a range of medium density to medium low density to medium density. Density ranges within the R2 are currently anticipated to be between 3 and 5 dwelling units to the acre. And then within the R3 parcels, they're anticipating medium to high density with up to 14 dwelling units to the acre at this time. And of course, I just want to remind you that these are conceptual in nature. So access to the property will be off Joe Max Road and a new roadway for 159th going north, and then a new collector road going east-west along the northern part of the site that will swing down into 155th Avenue. One of the stipulations of this rezone is that the applicant continue to work with the city and the county on roadway solutions. Those conversations have already been started and are underway, and we're just stipulating that these roadways be fully completed, or the details of these roadways be completed and decided upon prior to any pre-plats being approved. So the conceptual lotting plan is shown here. As you can see, the majority of the development is currently proposed to be single-family residential developments within the R2 portions, and then 2 pieces of R3 multifamily developments. They also provided a conceptual open space plan as part of their application. And as you can see along the 159th Avenue Collector Road there's a long green space area. They're proposing a large linear park that traverses through the existing wash there. This will provide various amenities for not only the potential community members here, but also open to the public. And then you can see throughout the remainder of the development, there's additional green space, open space, trails, and then of course, during site plan review, we'll ensure that they are meeting their open space and amenity needs for their multifamily developments. And again, I just want to remind that pre-plats will be required for any of the single-family residential areas, and then site plans will be required for the multifamily. The applicant held a neighborhood meeting on May 4th. It was well attended by the public. Major concerns were traffic, the density proposed, drainage issues, the adjacency of this development, and the impact on nearby rural residential, and then infrastructure. The entirety, the full summary of that was included in the citizens participation report. And then I believe you also should have received all of the citizen comments that we've received since that meeting. We also had outside agencies take a look at this application, and the only outstanding one that we have is that the applicant continue to work with McDOT and the city on those roadway improvement solutions. So with that, staff is recommending that the commission recommend approval to the mayor and city council subject to stipulations A through H. I'm available for questions, and the applicant is here as well, and they also have a presentation if you'd like to see that.
Thank you. This does require a public hearing. Have we people who have signed to address us at this time, Ashley?
Yes, Chair Bash, I have 8 individuals that have requested. The first
Okay.
one is Kevin Knowles.
Mr. Chair, Wendy Riddell with the applicant, Barry Riddell. Would you like me to give a presentation first, or would you like to hear from the neighbors first?
I'll go with the public hearing first, and if we need, we'll have your presentation after.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
And maybe it will help clarify some of the points that were brought up in the citizens' comments.
That'd be great.
Okay?
Yep, thank you.
All righty. I can't hear you, sir. Would you step to the podium?
Chair, I'd prefer to see their presentation because I was not able to make being out of town on the first meeting. So I have no visibility of what they're looking to propose.
Okay.
I would prefer to see that first. And I'm sure some others would also in case something's changed.
Well, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Riddell, if you give your presentation prior to our public hearing.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Wendy Riddell with the law firm Barry Riddell, 6750 East Camelback. My pleasure to be here this evening on behalf of Hines. Perhaps what I'll do to address your comments or your questions and setup is I'll give a high-level explanation of the project, and then I'm happy to come back for a rebuttal to answer any questions that are raised after that, if that works.
Thank you.
So as I mentioned, I'm here this evening on behalf of Hines. Hines is a privately owned real estate development company. They've been in operation for 64 years. They're in a number of cities and countries. If you've ever been to 24th Street in Camelback, you've probably seen their building. And they have $8 billion in the U.S. Southwest region, and they're very excited, frankly, to be here in the city of Surprise. So as staff mentioned, we are here requesting a rezoning to R2 and R3. I will tell you, we're a little bit of a guinea pig because we are not seeking a PAD. We are coming in under your new LDO, but we're pleased to see how it's worked so far. Sorry, I'm somewhat technology challenged here. So we are proposing a mix of R2 and R3, again, not a PAD. It is single-family detached on the R2 and build for rent on the future R3 phases. We're looking at an overall density of 4.5 dwelling units per acre, roughly 900 units. That is approximately 3.86 dwelling units per acre for the single family, and then the rest of that is made up in the single family for rent, the bungalow type of product. There's a significant amount of open space with this project. In fact, there's over 65 acres of open space, including a linear green belt that I'll tell you a little bit about. And there's also quite a few roadway improvements that we've been working our way through, as staff mentioned, with Maricopa County and Surprise, that will be coming forward as part of this project. So we are here tonight consistent with your general plan. We comply with their suburban designation. And as staff mentioned, we are here where the city of Surprise has projected growth. So I think this is the area the city has recognized, certainly their planning documents have recognized. It's where growth is coming and the tremendous need for housing that is out there today. Importantly, we're also very consistent with the recently approved Rio Caballo project that is immediately to our west. You can see the density is comparable on the single family for rent. We are, however, providing some, what I'll say, diversity of housing stock, a different housing option, but that's been very strategically located to the center of the site. So really coming through where you see the R3 components and the single family for rent. And again, as I mentioned, over 65 acres of open space. And we've taken great care as to where we place this open space. So it also provides a very nice transition and an appropriate buffer to the perimeter of the project. So one of the unique features under the city's new ordinance is a desire to see roads that come along and align with washes and come along and provide, green belt open space opportunities. And so that's what we were able to take advantage of here on 159th Avenue. We're creating a huge greenbelt type of park experience. You'll have everything from bicycle repair, a scenic overlook ramada, seating areas, opportunities for water harvesting, playgrounds, butterfly gardens, and a multimodal path throughout the entire project. And again, this is sort of the southern half. It's too big to really fit on one side and be able to show all to you. The southern half, you've got a dog park, you've got a pedestrian underpass, sports courts, you've got a giant hill with a slide coming down it for the kiddos. You've got a picnic area, grass volleyball, and then multi-use fields. It's probably also worth pointing out that this is not going to be here, this park will not be gated. So this will be something that is open for people that want to come along and want to experience it here in the city of Surprise. And then to give you an idea, some of the inspiration that came from that park, we've got a very visionary type of landscape architect that's been working on this project, and this is his inspiration. You can see the giant slide for the kiddos, you can see the overlook, the butterfly garden, water harvesting type of opportunities. With that, we've also been sure to take great pains to make sure there's tremendous pedestrian connectivity throughout the entire project. So you have in total, 10.4 miles of community sidewalks throughout this. You could run a couple of 10Ks and never leave the project. Paths throughout it, all types of ability to connect individual communities and enclaves to the Greenbelt Park. And again, with this development, as this commission knows very well, comes the improvement to the roadway system. So we are actually going to be able to provide and complete that north-south vehicular connectivity with 159th. We also create additional connectivity with 155th. We've had some more conversations with the neighbors even as recently as today, talking about the mechanics of how that will work, but ultimately helping to create a better traffic network here for the city of Surprise. So when you look at Joe Max Road, I think I don't have to tell most folks here, it's in kind of a county condition. It's very rural, hasn't really been built out. One of the things that we will be doing here is completing our portion of Joe Max Road. And it's really more than just our portion of Joe Max Road, because one of the things that we have learned in looking at this project is there is quite a bit of sheet flow and drainage that comes off and comes over Joe Max and a bit of a flooding problem. So with this, we looked at how are we going to actually be able to span that wash, and how are we going to be able to make sure that we're actually alleviating and improving the downstream drainage condition. And so this developer is actually taking all of Jomax and swinging it, that's what you see here, swinging it up and over. So you'll have both streets that will be able to go over and span and create a much better drainage solution for the residents, the county residents that are to our south. And it will include ultimately 2 lanes in each direction. So as I just mentioned, you see the drainage condition, it's coming down up and over Jomax. And you can see that we've created that park system, that multi-use field to help alleviate that condition, to help improve the drainage condition downstream. This gives you an idea, again, of what all of that can look like. So with that, Mr. Chair, I suspect we have some comments and questions, and I'm happy to reserve the remainder of my time for rebuttal or answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. We'll open it up to the public hearing. And I'd preface this, all those who want to speak, we want to hear you, but please, we're going to limit you to 2 minutes each. And if your previous speaker has addressed your concerns, we don't necessarily need you to repeat the same concerns in the interest of time.
Kevin Knowles.
Please state your name and your address, please.
Kevin Knowles, 15315 West Denver Hill Drive. I'm actually to the northeast of this proposed area, what's going to be looking to go forward. Pretty simple. I just really like for everybody here to take in consideration to limit the R2 and the R3. Go back and keep it as rural as what it is. It's worked well for everything that's even further north of us, and even to the east of us. About where I'm at right now. So
Thank you. Next, Ashley.
Mason Poole.
State your name and your address, please.
My name is Mason Poole. I'm a resident 26079 North 156 Lane, but I'm also an agent that represents a nearby landowner. I just wanted to read a statement. The landowner that I represent owns the property on the corner of 157th Avenue and Jomax Road, which is on the map just east of Nobella. We would be in support of the proposed layout and zoning change if done in a way which would not negatively impact the landowners adjacent. We feel Nobella would have a negative impact on us as a landowner. Our current plan is to improve our property for acre lots, which is the current zoning. With the P&Z approval of this plan, Nobella, our future lot owners will more than likely need to extend water and sewer services to their property to build their home. With the construction of Nobella, the services will be within the minimum distances where City of Surprise will probably deny well, water, and septic. The owners of our acre lots instead would be required to extend out to these city services. The cost to extend the main services along Jomax and then to the lot would not be financially reasonable in regards to construction single acre home sites. This condition will impact our ability to sell lots for an unknown amount of time, and it could be, years. We would request the developer to install a sewer and water and fire protection lines to the eastern edge of their property along Jomax Avenue as part of the community Nobella for future residents. I also understand the water lines for the community would need to be looped, and the other question we'd have was, would it be along 155th Avenue? And if so, then we're really only talking about extending the sewer lines a little bit further to the east. Once again, we would be in support of the rezoning, but this would certainly affect the way we move forward with our plans.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kaylee Solms. Stephanie Holland.
Good evening, Chair, Commission.
State your name and your address, please.
Sure. My name is Stephanie Holland. I live at 15575 West Redbird Road. I live sort of south and east of this proposed change in zoning, and I'm here to oppose it. I'm not in favor of the rural residential zoning. I'm going to speak a little fast. I actually prepped for a 3-minute time, which used to be the standard when I was a city employee. So I'll try to paraphrase, but I just kind of want to read an excerpt from the general plan. And it basically says, most successful neighborhood plans in terms of carrying out the strategies within the plan are contingent upon what is most important to the people that live in that area, myself being one of those. A couple other things, again, I'm just going to kind of hop through it a little bit, but there's missing links in roadways and networks that need to be completed. And with that, and again, paraphrasing some of the general plan, is that these missing pieces and links negatively impede the flow of traffic and compromise the safety, excuse me, and efficiency of travel for all modes of transportation. Several locations currently experiencing congestion: Bell Road, Grand Avenue, and of course 163rd. This problem is going to get worse as development occurs and additional demand is placed on the transportation system. Again, this is from the general plan. So it looks like when this was written, growth was undoubtedly anticipated, but no one was prepared for the level of growth that we're experiencing now. And I don't think anybody can deny the phenomenon that we're all experiencing, the level of growth into the city. The future is here. The deterioration is here of conditions, and this has happened at a staggering rate. So I'm just here to say right now, one of the biggest concerns is public safety. It should be priority one to every member of our local city government, in my opinion. It's failing to meet the standard response times, exceeding times, sometimes threefold and more. I talked to a neighbor that safety response got to them 40 minutes. That's 40 out in the outskirts. So right now we're having a little bit of a problem. Our 2 access points in and out, if I just finish this part, are gridlocked. It can take anywhere from an hour to get home at this point, just on a regular day. If you have a fatality on Grand or a rogue shooter on Happy Valley, a lot of us have been locked out of our ability to get home for excess of 2 hours. So again, I just wanted to bring your attention, just like the earlier gentleman said, public safety is a huge issue. A lot of neighborhood app people are, rely on that, sometimes use it frequently, Life Alert and things like that, and they're scared. So we're very concerned that 5 years for the catch up of growth of infrastructure is a little bit long to wait and have everybody at risk during that time. And that's it. Thank you for your time.
John Paddleford.
State your name and your address, please.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'm John Paddleford. We're here to support the submittal here for Nobella. Let me back up. My grandparents homesteaded it. I was raised out there on that property. So I've been around a few years and watched things grow. I've been in the real estate business. Hines is one of the best developers I've ever dealt with or run across. They're very good at working with cities, and I'm sure the staff and everybody can rely on that. They are working with them. And a lot of the problems that it seems that pop up are situations where the city has the requirement of providing, as an example, maybe utilities. And everything's changed now where the developers provide the utilities per the city's request, and then they dedicate those to the city. So it's a tremendous advantage not only to the city, but to the surrounding residents. Anyway, I signed a letter that basically says everything. My whole family, I represent the Paddleford Family Trust, are in support of this project. And I'm welcome. I mean, you're welcome to call anytime if I answer any questions or anything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Robin Markowski.
Please state your name and your address, please.
Robin Markowski, 27124 North 155th Avenue, Surprise 85387. I oppose the proposed rezoning from rural residential to R2 or R3. Arizona's Private Property Protection Act prevents municipalities from altering zoning to encourage density. Let me repeat that again. Arizona's Private Property Protection Act prevents municipalities from altering zoning to encourage density. The established neighborhoods to the north, the east, and the south are all 1 acre minimum. And the high density, including multifamily, is in conflict with the Surprise general plan. Let me take a step back. During the neighborhood meeting, one of the representatives from Novella indicated that they needed this density in order to make money. I disagree. NextGen and Newmark are currently developing the property to the east, and I'm quite certain that they're making money. I'm not against development. I'm just against the density that they're proposing. My personal property is adjacent to this, and I will have 6 homes overlooking my front yard. And that's only 1/3 of the front yard, because the rest of it is wash. The perimeter of the development doesn't allow for an interface to our neighborhoods, which are 1 acre. They immediately go to their medium density. So they haven't allowed for an appropriate transition. And there isn't enough green space between our existing 1 acre plus homes and the development. Yeah, there's nice paths and everything, but those are along the floodplain. Those are not between us and the development. That's in the floodplain. I just want to jump to one more issue, R3 zoning. R3 is geared towards an urban area. This is directly from the city's municipal code. The R3 zoning district reflects the urban development type and is allowed in the neighborhood character area in accordance with the general plan. This isn't urban. This is wide open spaces. So, thank you.
Scott Sosek?
Please hold your applause.
Scott?
What's the name? Scott?
Scott.
State your name and your address, please.
My name's Scott Sasek. I live at 17431 West Buckhorn Trail, Surprise, in the Oasis community. Some of the things I see wrong with the plan is they talk about the wash basins and all this green belt. All I hear from the councilman is we're running out of water. And now we're putting more green, we're putting more plants that have to be watered. We only get rain 3 or 4 times a year. And a lot of these people live on wells out there. They don't live on the city water like I do. So there's concerns about that. One of the other things I'm concerned is when you start putting these homes together, you start getting a lot of fire issues. One of those houses catches on fire in that R3 area, you're going to lose 3, 4 homes. I know we have a big fire station out there, but what if somebody has a heart attack somewhere else and they're out there trying to put out 15 homes that are on fire in R3 out there with one entrance? They talk about 155th, but they haven't even got the approval for 155th Avenue yet. They have one entrance in, one entrance out. And then when you start looking at traffic, they're talking about building a bridge that's going to have a dam in it. Sure, they're concerned about the people downriver, but what about the people upriver? Like we had back in 2009 when water was going through people's houses out there. So you got to look at the whole plan and the safety out there. We're starting to get homeless people out there now, wandering our neighborhoods. What's going to happen to our kids that they're going to put in this neighborhood that are going to ride their bikes down to Fry's down there on the road, down to Fry's with no sidewalks and very little concern. We have a cop out there maybe once a day. The other night, we had 5 sheriffs out there tracking down a homeless guy with dogs.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sally Sussex?
She's declining.
Alicia Stephanie?
Please state your name and your address, please.
Alicia Stefani, 15420 West Pinnacle Vista. I'm just trying to figure out what we're doing here, even talking about this proposed plan. I'm not sure why it even got through the gatekeepers. If I'm reading your general plan correctly, You have several areas that talk about a little thing called neighborhood character, which actually is a big thing because it's through several sections, and in my 2 minutes, I won't be able to get through that. So just help me understand how going from rural residential, RR, to R2 and R3 multifamily zones is compatible with the existing neighborhood character of rural residential estates. Because in Chapter 1 on development of Surprise, you have a couple pretty charts on page 64 and 65 that go over character, area, and zoning compatibilities. And page 64 states that both the physical development and existing entitlements of surrounding properties will be used to evaluate future development proposals and the determination of appropriate development types, such as this conversation now. So it seems like your go-to chart. And according to your charts in your general plan, the only encouraged or permitted development type for our rural RR neighborhood is RR or perhaps R1. And perhaps if I'm missing something and you consider our neighborhood to be suburban instead, then that would mean R1 and a low medium R2 may apply. R isn't even allowed or permitted. So I think we are talking about a rural neighborhood. R3, on the other hand, is actually completely discouraged across the board and only permitted for urban neighborhood character areas. So again, what are we doing here? I feel like this is a case closed and should be rejected. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair, that is the final request I had.
Okay. Anybody in the audience wish to address the commission? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and we'll open it up to Ms. Riddell. Would you like to rebut some of the comments? One thing that I'd like you to discuss is the buffer zones between the development and the surrounding properties.
Be delighted to. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Just a couple of quick graphics. This is actually from your general plan. So the general plan here very much anticipated this as a growth area. And I get that change is hard and I get development is hard, but this has always been anticipated for a growth area. And in large part, you can see this is a map that shows kind of all the subdivisions that are out there and that are currently underway. When you look at it, you can see a large reason for that is what's coming with TSMC, what's coming with employment, and what's coming with a tremendous housing shortage that we have here. And that's one of the reasons your general plan shows this as an anticipated growth area. Let's see if I can. So, Mr. Chair, you also asked me about the buffers.
Yes.
So looking at this project, we did take quite a bit of care in planning it in terms of where we put the open space. So for example, when you look to the south, at its closest point, our nearest property line for a lot to the property line across Jomax is at 180 feet. Of course, you add a rear yard setback to that, you're at 195, you're nearly 200 feet at its closest point along Jomax. When you look to the east, when you look at 155th, you see the same thing is true, that we also put a landscape buffer on the backside, that you're looking at 84 feet to the actual property line. Again, you put a 15-foot setback on the back of that, you're at nearly 100 feet at its closest point. We also went through and showed exactly when you have the distances to the existing homes. So when you take the distance to the existing homes, we're actually at 150 feet at its closest location. So this exhibit also references those individual yellow stars you see there. We have committed to those neighbors that this will be a single story everywhere you see a yellow star. Again, in our discussions with them and working with them, the alignment, the road that you see, we're also working to make sure that driveway 155th works for them. We've had enough conversations to know 155th is quite real, but the exact pavement width and the exact configuration is what we're working out with McDOT and the City of Surprise. So with that, Mr. Chair, one other very quick point a gentleman raised, wanting water and sewer at 155th and Jomax. We're actually doing that. So we'll be bringing water to 155th and Jomax, again, providing that opportunity for future development. And of course, I know this commission also knows the way roads get built in communities today in Arizona is through development. And so with this development, we'll be creating those roads, those missing links.
Will the infrastructure be running to your east property line?
Yes, Mr. Chair, it will be. With that, we respectfully request your approval, and I'm certainly happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. We'll now open it up to commission comments. Commissioner Sartor.
Good evening. On the plan, I see that you have the stars in the section 2.1, which is R3. What's the plan for that? Because it's just you want to zone it R3, but there's not really a plot plan. Is that consideration as far as the setback and what those houses are going to look like in transition to the rural residential?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair Sartor. So you're right, there isn't a specific site plan yet that we've created that shows those lots. But what we do know is we've actually come in and had caps at the maximum height. We do know it's going to be single family, that bungalow style of product for rent. So keep in mind those locations as well. The only thing we're really abutting is up against Rio Caballo to the west. And we've had a number of conversations with them. They're well aware of what's going on. And then to the east, there's just a small sliver, but again, we're set back pretty substantially and there's no homes that are out there at all.
Okay. So you don't anticipate having those 2 or 3 story houses or apartments? Or...
Vice Chair, we're actually a maximum of 2-story.
Okay.
Commissioner Keating, I think you wanted to speak.
Yes, thank you. I guess the first question is the drawing, Jomax, where the drawing shows that it curves up. Is that just a representation to show that that's where the bridge will be, or will it actually curve?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Keating, it will actually curve. Because the reality is if we took that Jomax and went directly across all the way through, because of the flooding that was occurring south and because of the property owners that were there, it would effectively create a wall at their front yard. And so this developer said, okay, let's bring the road up so we can take that movement that we can swing through both sides, provide an opportunity to have still good access to those properties, as well as handle the drainage situation. So it will in fact swing.
Okay. 155th Avenue. Please explain to me what the road improvement will actually look like. So what I mean by is the curbing, how it will impact the 26 homes that are already on 155th that is currently dirt, and lighting.
Great. Again, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Keating. So we have been working, and I'm going to let Trevor jump in if I get any of this wrong, but in talking to the county, that the ultimate paving cross-section, I believe, would be a maximum of 28 feet, 40 feet, 40 feet. There are, one of the questions I was asked earlier, there are no streetlights that are planned to be out there at all. There will not be sidewalks. It will be a county cross-section type of rural road with a 40-foot of asphalt across.
So 40 feet of asphalt, no curbs on either side, or a curb on the one
I
side?
believe the county requires ribbon curb.
Ribbon curb.
It's like a flat,
Flat?
just flat.
Okay, and the 26 residences, how will that impact their access in and out of their property? Once a company comes through and grades and paves for asphalt, I would want to make sure that there's no financial responsibility on these people's parts to make sure that they, to maintain the grade going from their dirt or gravel driveways up to the pavement.
Also a great question, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Keating. So we will be responsible for all the improvements that would occur on 155th. The vast majority of that right-of-way is already dedicated there. And we'll also happily commit on the record, because I know Heinz well enough to know that they would do this, to make sure ultimately that there's connectivity to existing driveways, and that financial burden will not fall on any of the homeowners that are out there. They may have to work with us to allow us to have a construction easement to make sure that the grades work, but we're certainly willing to make sure that that happens.
And who would be responsible for future maintenance of 155th?
Ultimately, the plan is that road would be accepted by the city of Surprise.
Okay. The park, you said that it would be open to the public. It's been my experience that it looks to me like it'd be an HOA park, and they usually don't want to open up their parks to the public. Could you address that?
Of course, Chair, Commissioner Keating. So my point was that it is not going to be behind gates and locked away from the community, but you are correct that it is going to be an HOA park. It's certainly intended for the residents that are out there. But the fact that it's not secured behind a gate like you more typically see means it will be something that community has the ability to benefit from.
Does it connect with the trail system? Do the trails going through or proposed to go through?
Yes, Mr. Chair, absolutely.
Your development connect to the ultimate trail system?
It does.
So that would allow for access for public through that subdivision.
Mr. Chair, that's correct.
Thank you.
I'd like to see something in writing eventually at some point. Even just talking about it here on public record, I think is helpful. Because again, it's been my experience at HOA parks, they usually put up signs that say, this is expressly for the use of the people that live in this community.
Mr. Chair, I don't want to mislead you. This is an HOA park. I don't know whether or not they will have signs. I want to be very clear on the record about that. My point was simply that it is not going to be behind a gate. You'll have the ability to drive up and down 159th. There is going to be parking along the side of 159th. There's a trail system that connects through the park. There's no ability to stop people from going out and walking through and hiking on that trail system.
So there is parking along the street, because that was my question. I mean, you can say residents can use it, but if there's no place for them to park to use it. So there is parking.
Mr.
along
Chairman,
the
Commissioner
street.
Smith, there is parking.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Keating?
That's all I have for right now. I might have a couple more. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Chapman?
Yes, I wonder if Trevor could help us here on this one. We received many letters that I think reflect an interpretation of urban development that supports R3 zoning. And I'm not sure of the city's position. I know I've read the general plan. I would like somehow to see if you could address the concerns of the citizens regarding the RZ or R3 zoning in this area.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioner Chapman. Yeah, so one of the things that I'm sure you're all aware of is that with the adoption of our LDO, we changed most of our zoning designations to be more flexible to allow for a variety of developments and uses to come in under the same zoning designation and have development standards for each one of those. So while they're requesting our high density residential development, what they have kind of shown us in their plan is not necessarily going to be, these apartment complexes of multi-story, 3-4-story complexes. So we have stipulated the rezone request to their development being in substantial conformance with the narrative that they have provided. And so they'll be subject to that. And through our review, we felt that what they provided in their narrative was in compliance with the general plan using the R3 designation.
Okay, another question, concern is I heard somebody mention about safety and kids riding bicycles to Fry's from there, knowing that it's a rural area and not sidewalks and other kinds of things, that the safety concern does come about here. We have approximately 900 units of housing, and half of those are in the high density R3 zoned area or zoning area that's being requested. We're looking at, I'm not sure of the makeup of this area, but we probably have between 2 and 2.5 people per unit, which is over 2,000 people that are going to be represented in this one area. And it does a couple of things: safety issues for children at play and for traffic, in which we have been at this for quite a number of years, maybe 10 or more, but we're building an area out there that I'm not sure if it's going to be worse than Bell Road. I mean, the access and the ability to move and the circulation, I think, is a real concern that I have about adding to this area in terms of RZ, R3 type zoning. So I don't know if you have any comments about that, but it's a concern that I have, about that and safety.
Understood, Chair. Thank you, Commissioner, for those comments. Yeah, I think we're all aware of kind of the difficulties of development happening in an area where hasn't quite seen the rapid growth that we're seeing in this area lately. And you're all aware through all of the other applications that we've seen in the area, there are some growing pains in the region as a whole. And as developments come in and fill in these gaps, they'll provide the infrastructure and kind of fill those gaps as far as the roadway, the sidewalks. So it's kind of one of those things where it's a valid concern, and I would just say I would anticipate that be filled in over the coming years.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a general comment. Commissioner Smith had given me an article just recently to read, and Arizona, unfortunately, in Maricopa County specifically, is experiencing a significant growth, to the extent that this article said that over 150 people a day are moving into Maricopa County. And if you translate that into housing need just for those that are influxing into the area, you're looking in excess of 50 units daily needed to accommodate the people that are moving into this area. We are experiencing significant growing pains, and Surprise, I think, was recently said was one of the fastest growing communities in Arizona. So however this vote goes this evening, just know that housing is needed. Housing across the board is needed. I know that a lot of people moved out here to get away from the city, and the city is now encroaching. But know that there are growing pains that we're all going through, and with that, there's going to be infrastructure issues, transportation issues, because of the way that the system is set up, that the developer develops their half of a road. So we end up, unfortunately, having all of these scalloped roads, which are not the best for safety and those kinds of things. So that's just a general overall comment for the audience. Commissioner, other comments? Commissioner Sartor.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know the city prioritized some capital improvement projects in this area. Can you recall if there's any specific around here that would help alleviate any of that?
Thank you. I'll refer to Lloyd for that.
Mr. Abrams.
Chair, Commissioners, I believe 163rd is one of those roadways, and filling in those gaps that development hasn't built, that the city would look to do a CIP project for capital improvement project to fill in those gaps.
Okay, and do you know what year that was?
That I do not know,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you.
Commissioner Keating.
Follow-up question. So the R3 developments, you said you think that both of those parcels would be the single-story cottage-style developments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Keating, we've capped it at 2 stories. So it will be a mix of single and 2-story.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. Commission, any other comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to recommend approval of the proposed zone change to City Council subject to stipulations A through H as outlined in the staff report.
I'll second.
Commissioner
Call
Holland?
vote, please.
Commissioner Holland?
4.
Commissioner Keating?
Against?
Vice Chair Sartor?
4.
4.
Chair Bash?
4.
Commissioner Rosenbaum?
4.
Commissioner Smith?
4.
Commissioner Chapman?
Against.
Motion passes with 5 votes in favor.
Thank you. We'll move now to agenda item 4 that does not require a public hearing.
Consideration and action regarding the preliminary plat entitled Preliminary Plat Unit Q, Phase 3, Toll at Prasada, generally located west of Cotton Lane between Cactus Road and Peoria Avenue, Case FS 21-710.
Trevor?
Thank you, Chair, members of the commission. This is another preliminary plat within the Sterling Grove Tulip Prasada development. It will be Unit Q Phase 3. The subject site is located near the southwest corner of the overall toll development, which is located between Cactus and Peoria and west of Cotton Lane. As you can see here, a close-up of that and its relation to the overall Sterling Grove master plan. Another portion of this phase of Unit Q is the condominium development just to the south. This portion of it was split off because we could not have platting with single-family residential lots on the same parcel as the condominiums. So this plat includes 3 different of the lot categories that you've seen before. The 70-foot wide Category C, 2 versions of the Category D1, the 50 and 60-foot wide, and then the wide shallow 105-foot wide Category D2. And here you can see the dispersion of those lot categories throughout this specific preliminary plat. Primary access to the development is through the remainder of Unit Q to the east, and then there's an additional emergency ingress-egress on the west side. The landscaping is consistent with the overall development and the PAD, as is the wall plan with the view fencing along the golf course and then the theme walls throughout. Staff is recommending approval of this preliminary plat subject to stipulations A through D.
Thank you, Trevor. This does not require a public hearing. Commission comments. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to,
After you.
I sure? Okay. I move to approve the preliminary plat entitled Preliminary Plat Unit Q, Phase 3, toll at Prasada, subject to stipulations A through D, as outlined in the staff report.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. We'll have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Holland,
4.
Commissioner Keating,
4.
Vice Chair Sartor,
4.
Chair Bash,
4.
Commissioner Rosenbaum,
4.
Commissioner Smith,
4.
Commissioner Chapman.
4.
Motion passes with 7 votes in favor.
Thank you. We'll now move to item number 5.
Consideration and action pertaining to the approval of written procedures to provide effective, early, and continuous public participation in the development and major amendment of the 2040 General Plan Update from all socioeconomic and geographic areas within the City of Surprise. Resolution 2022-52.
Trevor?
Thank you, Chair, members of the commission. We are excited to begin our general plan update process that we're required by state statute to update the general plan in a comprehensive manner every 10 years. So we have hired on a consultant, Michael Baker International, to begin that process. And they have helped us craft this community outreach and participation plan. So as part of the state statute for updating a general plan, we're required to adopt written procedures for how we're going to engage the community throughout that process. And so this is kind of a presentation of that plan, and then we will be looking for a recommendation from the commission to council on the action of this plan. So the plan, which was included in the packet, covers first and foremost the various community members and stakeholders that have been identified as instrumental to the crafting and the process of this general plan update. So key community members that we've identified are the residents, of course, various service organizations throughout the community, HOAs, faith-based communities, our various school districts and education networks, different healthcare groups, and youth organizations. Stakeholders identified are the city council members and our various boards and commission members, the Surprise Regional Commerce Chamber of Commerce, different major employers throughout the city, and individual business leaders, the landowners and development community. Luke Air Force Base is one of our major stakeholders, as well as public utility companies, the State Land Department, and then any other federal and state agencies. So in the plan, the consultant with staff's involvement has provided this outreach plan. And for the general plan, they have kind of created this 4-step process for how to best update the general plan. So they've identified 4 key efforts throughout the process that will include recognize, enrich, and achieve. And then as you can see with the arrows throughout this graphic, engagement throughout the entire process. So we are just beginning the recognize phase that will include the creation of the general plan advisory group. We're looking at current conditions, begin doing our community outreach. And so this plan just kind of highlights how we are intending to keep the community engaged throughout the entire process. So the outreach plan has also identified certain participation goals that we're looking to achieve. Those include inform, consult, involve, collaborate, and empower. And within the plan, there's different descriptions for each one of these. And then we have organized how we intend to include those goals within each of the phases. So under phase 1, which is the recognize phase, we're intending to achieve the participation goals of inform and involve. So not only staff and the consultant and the advisory group in informing the public, but also letting the public inform us of what they've been seeing, what they want to see, and what we include in the plan update. And then of course, involve and have kind of that back and forth dialogue. Through phase 2, the enrich is where we'll kind of take some of the initial feedback, some of the amendment drafts that we've provided, and then inform the public of that, and then collaborate with them on tweaking those draft amendments. And then phase 3, of course, is to achieve, to consult with the public, the stakeholders, the advisory group on kind of those final drafts, make any last minute tweaks. And then one of the key ones is really to empower the public, because ultimately this plan will go before the voters. So we need to ensure that they have felt that they have been included throughout the process, feel ownership of the general plan, because it really is for them. So they need to make sure that we need to make sure that they feel that they have ownership over that. So some of the engagement and techniques that are included in this plan include that general plan advisory group, which the next item, I believe, on this agenda will address a portion of that. We'll be having workshops with both the commission and the city council. The consultant has identified an awareness campaign that they intend to head up. There will be various community workshops throughout the process, and some possible additional targeted workshops that are optional within this plan. We will also be providing digital engagement and media releases. So the awareness campaign, just to highlight this a little bit, will include kind of some marketing materials, branding this general plan update, and provide it with a visual identity so that community members are, can recognize it throughout the process. There will also be a designated project website that will be updated with information, meeting dates, all that. And then the consultant will also be providing print and social media materials. Some of the community workshops that have been provided are, we've identified 3 major community workshops. So it'll start off with a public kickoff and visioning, where we'll gain initial feedback, existing conditions assessments. Round 2 will include, it'll occur after we've kind of drafted some amendments based off of the feedback that we've received over the initial phase, and gain further kind of clarity on what the draft has shown. And then round 3 will include kind of that empowering of the plan before it goes to the voters. So next steps for this specific item, we're looking for a recommendation from the commission to the council. If approved by council, we will begin the phase 1, the recognized phase of this plan and get to work on crafting the general plan. And then, of course, we'll finish creating that general plan advisory group, which will include a member of the commission. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Commission, are there any questions for? I have one question.
In the plan that talked about a standalone website, I just want to make sure there's, because the citizens know the city website and where to go and all those different features on that. I just want to make sure there's going to be some interface between your group's standalone website and our city website.
Yeah, so our consultant has already begun working with our communications department on how to best kind of link those and ensure that the public is kind of like a streamlined way to not only reach that independently, but also through our website.
Okay, thank you.
Commission, any other comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah, I'd like to move to recommend approval of the 2040 General Plan Communication Plan to the City Council.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Holland,
4.
Commissioner Keating,
4.
Vice Chair Sartor,
4.
Chair Bash,
4.
Commissioner Rosenbaum,
4.
Commissioner Smith,
4.
Commissioner Chapman.
4.
Motion passes with 7 votes in favor.
Thank you. Item number 6.
Consideration and action to nominate and appoint a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission to serve as a general plan advisory group member and to designate an alternative member.
I'd like to make a recommendation.
Commissioner Smith.
We have a previous vice chairman of the planning of the 2030 general plan. I'd like to nominate and appoint to represent the Planning and Zoning Commission on the general plan, Commissioner Rosenbaum.
I'd second that.
Been moved and seconded. Do we need to also pick the alternate? Okay. I move to nominate Commissioner Smith as the alternate for the position.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded.
So are we combining those two motions when we vote?
Add both names. One motion. I move to nominate and appoint Mitchell Rosenbaum, Commissioner Rosenbaum, as primary to represent the Planning and Zoning Commission on the General Plan Advisory Group, and Commissioner Dennis Smith as the alternate.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Holland,
4.
Commissioner Keating,
4.
Vice Chair Sartor,
4.
Chair Bash,
4.
Commissioner Rosenbaum,
4.
Commissioner Smith,
4.
Commissioner Chapman.
4.
Motion passes with 7 votes in favor.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to move to adjourn to executive session for legal advice regarding case number FS 20-829. Does that need to be voted on?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Holland,
4.
Commissioner Keating,
4.
Vice Chair Sartor, Chair Bash,
4.
Commissioner Rosenbaum,
4.
Commissioner Smith,
4.
Commissioner Chapman.
4.
Motion to adjourn passes with 7 votes in favor.
Thank you. regular session.
Second.
Been moved in second. Voice vote?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, we're in regular session. Business come before the commission. Hearing none, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Voice vote?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Adjourned.